No, it's technically apostrophe S, but nobody ever, just leave it like that. Because I feel like it kind of helps. It's through apostrophe S, even though it seems weird, like I wrote that. Because I always just would do S. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Folks, we're just waiting on one more, our special guest from the city of Denver to speak to the Denver Construction Bridge Program. Alexi just checked some fields outside, so let's just give it a couple more minutes to make sure you can drive and get rolling. There it is.
Hey, there's a spot here.
My GPS failed me. And I was riding all over the place.
There.
There. Have a nombre. How you doing? It is, right? Yeah, of course. All right, folks, let's get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Allen, the Chief Real Estate Officer here at the National Western Center Authority. Welcome to the task force meeting for the Equestrian Center Hotel Housing and Parking Garage project. Here's the agenda for this evening. Kind of two parts to the evening. We're going to have a topic discussion around our Denver Construction Careers Program. We're going to hear from Derek Watson with the City of Denver. We're going to hear from Hannah with Mental Phelps about their approach to meeting this requirement. I'm going to provide a quick project overview and talk about our schedule a little bit. We'll summarize what we've discussed here and adjourn at 6. We'll then move and have a nice appreciation dinner. Just a chance to say thank you for engaging in this process today. And so that's the proposed agenda. Let's jump right into introductions. Hannah, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Hannah Seeley. I am the Pencil Phelps, I've been with Pencil Phelps for general contractor for 11 years, and I'm manager of supplier diversity.
Sandra Ruiz, Global resident.
Wes House, President CEO of the National West Construction. Happy to be a part of this group.
I'm Carolyn, this one's the resident.
Jessica, I'm a Global resident and former Elyria resident.
I'm Gil, Larry, I love them.
I go on the call around Denver resident.
Mike Bouchard, Mayor's Office, National West Center.
Jared Hopewell, with the authority.
Harry Black, Global Civic Partners.
Joe Henry, local, sorry.
Hola, yo soy Guillermo Payán, yo soy de Kid Barrio, tengo de hermano Payán.
Armando Payán, president of UCAN.
Rachel,
And a good friend of mine, Derek Watson, we worked together at the University of Colorado Boulder for umpteen years, and a really good colleague of mine, just refreshing to see him right here today.
Rachel Lyman, Legislative Affairs for the Black and Brown Parents United Foundation.
Good evening. My name is Derek Watson. I'm with the city and county of Denver.
Hi there, I'm Lori Larita, I'm with the authority.
Gina Greenville with the authority.
Lexi, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Lindsay Pelzari, I'm with the National Western Center.
Francisco, do you want to?
Francisco. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Introduce yourself and tell us about the presentation.
Sure. I'm Francisco Picado from Language Access LLC, and the National Western Center Authority organizes a Spanish interpretation for these meetings. For those of you who have not gotten a chance to do that, to use that service online, just click on the globe and select the language on the interpretation globe on the bottom right of your screen and select the language of your choice. And for those of you that are in the meeting, we have equipment for you to use to listen to the interpretation. Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Francisco Picado. Represento a Language Access LLC y la autoridad del Centro National Western ofrece interpretación al español para estas reuniones. Si no ha usado este servicio anteriormente, por favor, pulse el globito en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla y seleccione el idioma de su preferencia. Para aquellos que están aquí presentes en la reunión, tenemos ¿tiene alguna pregunta? Good.
Thank you. All right, let's go online. I'll just go through the list. The first one, Berta. And. Berta, can you introduce yourself? All right, we can go to Caroline Hacha.
Hi, Caroline Acha, Globeville resident and community board member for the National Western Center.
I'm here. It's Berta. I am Vice President, new appointee of UCAN.
Berta, Claudia. Claudia Cardoza, you can hear us? Please introduce yourself.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry. So I'm Claudia and I'm with Focus Points Family Resource Center.
I see a CVPE. AE. If you can hear us, please introduce yourself. Oh, no audio right now. Enter from me for the chat. Kristen Lang.
Hi, Kristen Lang with the Mayor's Office of the National Western Center, the program manager.
Christina Garcia.
Hi, it's Christina Garcia and Anthony Garcia with Global Center, Birdseed Collective.
Hey, y'all.
Next up is Laura Walsh.
Laura Walsh with GH2 Equine Architects.
Hello, Melendez.
Hi, Rachel Melendez. I'm with Unite Here Local 23, the Hospitality Workers Union.
Lavisa, you're in the room. Tasia and Kelvin. Tasia and or Kelvin, if you can hear us, please introduce yourself.
Yes, we're Tasia and Calvin, sorry. We're from Alraya, we're community members. Alraya.
Hi, I'm Shannon Hoffman, project manager for the Globeville Elyria Swansea Community Investment Fund.
And then there's one more online, user of Zoom. Just came on.
Hi, it's Angela. I just joined. My name is Angela Garcia, Globeville resident. Yeah, thank you.
Angela, anyone else?
I think that Rosario is Maria. I could be wrong.
¿Alguien más que quiera
Buenas
presentarse?
tardes, soy María Alcalá, soy miembro de la comunidad.
Good afternoon, I'm Maria Canal. I'm a member of the community.
Excellent. All right, thank you, everyone. Back to the agenda. So the next thing, just wanted to provide an overall project update, but for those that are not familiar with the Equestrian Center project. Here is a map. It is the dark orange with the star, the dashed line around it. It's about an 18-acre site. Along National Western Drive, just adjacent to the riverfront open space. The Equestrian Center project, this is the list of the scope, so several components to the project. There's an arena, stables and warm-up paddocks as part of the Equestrian Center. Hotel with 160 rooms, service, workforce housing, 30 to 40 units, 100% income restricted. There's a parking garage with campus serving parking and additional hotel parking spaces. There's a landmark and historic structure on the site. Called the Armor Administration Building. Plan is to reuse that building for restaurant and bar meeting space. There's a community space that we've talked about quite a bit in the task force. It's a 4,000 square foot dedicated space for the community's use. And there's about 5 acres of plaza and open space surrounding the buildings. Those are the project components. As a task force, we've met many times before. We combined the task force with the Citizen or Community Advisory Committee, CAC, for several meetings. This is our first meeting where we're meeting just on the task force, just on the Equestrian Center. There's a lot to discuss on the project coming up in the future. And these are the topics and schedules that we'd like to cover for the next several months. These are in 2 different categories, and we did that intentionally to try to help articulate where we'll really do a lot of community engagement, try to seek input versus provide updates on requirements that we have, city requirements. We're certainly still interested in feedback on these topics, and we value your opinion and want to have discussion around all of these topics. But we wanted to put these into different categories, so we are clear in our intent around these topics, what we plan to discuss. So every month we will cover the project. We will touch on schedule, talk about design. If we have new renderings, we can show those, and we will have fly-throughs, what the space is starting to look like and shape up. As we enter into construction, we will provide updates through various means, but also through a task force. Workforce housing, we are planning to talk about workforce housing next month in September. We intend for that discussion to also continue that discussion into October. Tonight, we're starting with construction jobs. We have some subject matter experts here. You met Derek. That will spill over into September as well for bringing information back. The public park process that we're pushing that into 2026, that will be led by Denver Arts and Venues, but we can bring expertise to the task force and explain that process and what it looks like. Out in November, we want to really seek input around these community benefits. A lot of these are related to the hotel. Promotion of local businesses to hotel guests, the mechanics of administering the CIF revenue. What does it look like for a user that's rounding up at a bar, checking out a room? What do the fundraising days look like, and what are the mechanics of those days that are required? Preferential access to hotel and harbor facilities, what that mean? Talk about that. Also, we'll start gearing up for hotel apprenticeships, internships, and jobs. It was discussed. These are jobs during operations, which will not happen until out in 2029. So we'll gear up for that and start these operations jobs once the project is complete. Community space, we talked a lot about that. The design decisions that have gone into that space. There's a lot more to discuss there. How does the community get access to it? What's the booking process? what the liquor licenses look like for different types of events. That's another category that we plan to discuss in 2026. I want to pause before we move right into construction jobs. Any questions about our topics and schedule? Okay. Derek, you sent us slides.
I did.
We came back blank, so if you want to give me your laptop, we can.
Okay.
Go that, or you can wave your hands around.
It's in my car, and I didn't bring it in, but I can get it. But you know what? I don't think we'll need it. You know, let me just go up. And everything I'm gonna share with you today, I will send it to you, and so you can send it out to the task force, and all of you will get a copy of it. Well, good evening. My name is Derek Watson. As I said earlier, I work for the city and county of Denver. Specifically, I work in the Office of Economic Development. And my role within that office is Director of Construction Careers Program. What does that mean, right? In 2023, City Council passed an ordinance requiring all city-funded projects over $10 million have workforce requirements on them. And those workforce requirements specifically outline what the project's workforce plan will be in order to, guess what the number one goal is? Employ Denver residents.
Yeah.
17, for this next year, 17% of the hours worked on this job, on the Equestrian Center, has to be worked from Denver residents. And a part of what I do is I monitor that. I make sure that they're hitting those numbers. And I'll be candid with you, I'm not trying to beat our contractors over the head and say, hey, you didn't make this percentage this week, and no. We're here to partner with our contractors to help them achieve the workforce requirements. So the number one goal is 17% local hire. The other goal is 15% of those hours have to come from apprentices. Then you might ask yourself, why apprentices? Well, we know in the construction industry, the clearest pathway to success is through apprenticeship. And so we put those requirements, 3.75% of those hours have to be worked from first year apprentices. And what that really means is we want to infuse new talent into the industry. And so these are the requirements that we put on the projects. Now, you may ask yourself, good to have these requirements, but how do you hold them accountable? Couple of ways. First and foremost, we meet with our contractors monthly to look at how they're performing based on what these goals are. I'm in this project, I'm very fortunate to be partnering with a contractor we've already worked with. You guys familiar with the convention center? That was one of our projects. They achieved the goal, and now I do have projects that did not achieve the goal. And they were penalized. So it's one thing to say good faith, because we hear that all the time, good faith. But good faith isn't good enough in this case. And so if they don't meet the requirements, there's a penalty up to 3% of the contract value that they will have to pay to help build the pipeline again. And some of these projects are pretty sizable. The 16th Street Mall, $149 million. The convention center, $220 million. So you think about that. 3% of $220 million. That's not a small amount of money. So our goal, as I said, is really to employ Denver residents. And we have studied our ecosystem for 5 years. You remember I said in 2023, City Council passed this ordinance? But before they passed the ordinance, we studied city construction projects for about 5 years. And that's how we came up with these percentages. Some people say, well, how'd you come up with $10 million? Well, the reason we looked at $10 million is because that project is sizable enough to make a difference in our community on getting people jobs. We looked at 17% is because we studied the convention center and 16th Street Mall and other projects. And we saw what the local hire rate was. And it was about 10–12%. But ours is 17, because we know they can do better. We will hold them accountable for it. I don't have a lot of information I want to share with you. One of the other things, and I'm sure Hannah will get into this, as a part of being awarded the contract, they had to sign off that they will adhere to the workforce requirements from the workforce plan. The workforce plan they create, they will submit to us. We'll review it. We'll either say, Hannah, this is good. Hannah, go kick rocks. We're not gonna do that. Then try to get, and we've done it before. And so I want to come here tonight to assure you that the city and county of Denver is committed to your community and committed to making sure folks in this community have opportunities on city funded projects. And I'm gonna stop with the official part of it. Then I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story about this gentleman right here. You guys know Mr. Payan? You guys know. So I met Armando back in 1981, a long time ago, right? And so, and as he said, I worked at the university. I worked at CU Boulder for 35 years. I retired about 10 years ago. And I said to myself, the next job I get, I want to be able to make a difference in my community. Now, Armando back in 1981, that's when we still had paper checks. You guys remember getting your checks and it was a paper check, you have to go to the bank and cash it. So I get my check and I'm looking at it and I'm looking at all these deductions. I was like, Armando, who is Para and why are they taking $220 out of my check? And he looked at me and just laughed. He said, you better be happy they're taking that $220 out of your check. Because today, that $220 a month that they were taking out has turned into $8,000 a month in income for me.
Okay.
Thanks to him. Because I was gonna kill Para. Because it was optional. You didn't have to get it. And so I just want to publicly thank you for helping me plan my future. And I didn't even know, I was 18 years old. And I got that advice from this gentleman right here. And so, thank you, Armando. Now, I do want to give us time to ask questions. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. And if there's a question that I cannot answer tonight, I promise to you that I will get back to you with an answer. So, questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I wanted to make sure that Kristen gets her question answered too, but yeah, the question I have is how many of those local hires come from 80216? And also, where would they get these hires from?
Okay.
If they didn't get them from Denver?
Good question. And I can tell you, because I looked right before I came over here, 'cause I knew somebody was gonna ask me that. We had 36 city projects that we studied. 240 or 250 people from the 80216 worked on those projects. They earned a little more than $1.9 million on city funded projects. They also earned about $28 per hour on the projects that they worked. And I'm more than happy to send you that data.
Okay.
But because we have 80216, we have all the zip codes. But one of the things that we learned is zip codes don't fit nice and neat into the Denver boundary. And so the ordinance, instead of looking at zip codes, guess what we're looking at now? Neighborhoods. So I can tell you how many people from your neighborhood are working on city funded projects. I can tell you what types of jobs they're working. I can tell you how much they're making. I can tell you if they're an apprentice, if they're a journey level worker. So as I said, we studied the ecosystem.
Okay.
And these are things that we know we have to understand in order to make a difference. And so, yeah, we have that information and I'm more than happy to share it.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, it's almost similar. Does the city has a program or a percentage that goes to each neighborhood that, but there's gonna be this kind of developments? Because I know you say it was 17% of the residents, but how about having a percentage for these neighborhoods that are gonna be affected with all of these developments? Because when the I-70 project happened, we heard the same story that there was gonna be jobs for the community. But then when we asked, we never had that data, we never had that information, and we knew probably two people that were working there. So, and they always told us, oh, well, they're not applying, and then we met other people saying that they were not, another issue that they only had an IT number. And they were telling that they couldn't apply for jobs because they don't have social security. So there's different things that we will be doing that the city starts looking in the future, not just having a percentage for the residents, but also for the neighborhoods that are gonna be affected with this large development.
Now, you said you had one question, but I heard about four questions. So let me start with the first one about, setting aside resources for communities that are being impacted by this type of construction. My focus is really on work. And my job is to make sure that people from this community have opportunities on these projects. Now, I-70, federal project. This is a city project. Two different types of organizations. With the city, I have access to what we call the payroll. Everybody's got to get paid, right? I have access to that payroll, and that payroll tells me the kind of information that you're asking about. How many people from our residents, how many, and what types of jobs, and what jobs are there? Now, I'm sure Hannah will talk about, in her workforce plan, she will include how they will advertise and promote opportunities within this community. And as I said before, if it's something we don't think makes sense, we'll say, we gotta do something different. Now, the other question, was really focused on barriers for entry. Because some folks may not have social security cards, or they may not have what it takes to apply for some of these stuff, right? One of the things that we have invested in is our community partners. $2.1 million of my budget goes to our community partners that is focused on supporting the kind of things that you're talking about, getting people jobs, having the training, making sure they have the ID. And that's one of the biggest ones we run into. Is people don't have the IDs in order to get into these jobs. We work with our workforce centers. We have 3 workforce centers in our community. And I'll get to you in a second. Okay. And we encourage folks to go and utilize those workforce centers. We have one in Montbello, we have one Federal, and we have another one out at Dig. So those are places folks can go to get services to help get into that job market. Because you're right, without an ID, you're not going anywhere. And in construction, without training, you ain't going anywhere. So these are 2 areas that we spend a lot of time and energy in. All right, I'm sorry, that was a long-winded. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, one of them or 2 of them, I know you have. Yes, ma'am.
And I wanted to add your 3 your work now centers, correct?
They're workforce centers. Work Now is one of our community partners. And I know, Hannah, you'll probably talk about some of this stuff.
Go for it.
But Work Now is a program that we fund. through the community college of Denver to provide these types of supportive services for individuals interested in entering into construction. And Work Now is one of several partners that we like.
Angela has her.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Angela, hi.
I was gonna say, Anthony.
Thank you. I would suggest to you, if you come to future meetings, just bring all that data with you. I know that Rachel would be kind enough to share that information with many people around the table. But if you could share that information with us every time you come to a meeting to say X amount of people from GES applied for these jobs. And again, I just want to reiterate what both Sandra and Rachel said was that we've
Okay.
been made a lot of,
Well-
I want to reiterate a lot of things that Sandra and Rachel said is we've been made a lot of promises in these 3 neighborhoods where we're going to hire X amount of your residents and they go to apply and that's as far as they get is to apply, they never actually get hired. And so what I think I speak for a lot of us is that we're pretty much tired of hearing that story. I want to trust you, but I'm very wary of many people who come into our neighborhood making promises for the past however many generations. But again, I would encourage you in the future to bring that data when you come to meetings. This way,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get.
I have it, it's just in my car. I can, you know, I was just running so late that I just ran in here. And so I have the data about 80216 and several other zip codes. And so I can definitely make sure I give it to you guys this evening. But Angela, I want to touch on something that you talked about that's important to me. Talk about trust. That's exactly what she's saying, is you guys have to trust us. And over time, your experience hasn't been very, very good, right? And that's actually the formula for trust. Did you know that? There's a mathematical formula for trust. Your experience over time equals trust. And Angela, what you just said is your experience hasn't been very good. And I have to own that. From the city and county, I hear you. But I will tell you that I'm committed to this 100%. And so I'll have to prove it to you. And when I come back, I will continue to prove it to you and show you and demonstrate to you the level of commitment that we have. Armando.
Yeah, Angela, I know Derek personally, as he stated, from the University of Colorado at Boulder. And I can attest to you and everybody in here as well, his personality, his behavior, his school of thought. He'll put everything into this project like you will not believe. I mean, we work with disadvantaged youth at the University of Colorado. He brought kids, just a real quick profile about Derek. Derek worked with kids from Navajo or different types of reservations throughout the United States. He brought them to the University of Colorado and he shared everything. Eric's almost a professional basketball player. He brought everything he could to those kids. And let me tell you, a lot of those kids, they flourished in today's Native American tribal councils throughout the United States. That's the kind of person he is. And that's the type of individual in the spirit and camaraderie that he'll bring to this project. I can guarantee you that. And that's all. I'm going to shut up and let Eric speak for himself. But that's a personal testimonial. And I've known him for, like you said, 35 years.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for that. And people sitting at that table who know me will also know I will come back and be like, hey, what about this? So I am that person. See, you see nods around the head. I can see that. So thank you so much for trying to be transparent, and I look forward to seeing that transparency. Thank you.
Question?
Yes, question about the 17% employment requirement. Is that in the developer agreement or where does that language live?
That is in the contract.
Yeah, it
So,
will be in the development.
yeah, and we have different delivery methods, so I call them all contracts. But
Sure.
it is in the contract and they will be liable contractually for meeting these requirements.
And how did 17 feels like a very specific number? How did we land on that? Is that
Well, and I'll be candid with you, we researched this issue around the country. Other cities have much higher percentages, 40, 50%. But what we end up seeing is the contractors being achieved. And then guess what? We got a frustrated contractor, we got a frustrated community, and folks just don't have success. As I said, we studied the ecosystem for 5 years before we wrote the ordinance. And so we looked at a number of projects and really analyzed what the local hire rate was for those projects. And we bumped it up a little bit because, like I say, before, they didn't have to do it. So they got these percentages on their own. Now they have to do it. And we feel like 17%, well, it started out at 15%. And this is year 2 of the ordinance. It's gone up to 17%. And next year it'll be 20%. And so it is going up as the projects, you know, start to come on in the future. But this year is 17%.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
What has the success rate in been meeting those percentages in a project of a similar size?
Let's say, the livestock center is out here on this site, right? This is and they're at about 19% local hire, and they're at 17% apprenticeship utilization. So they are achieving those goals that have been established via the ordinance. As I said, not all of them are achievable. And for those that don't get it done, we have some flexibility in looking at what that goal is, to be realistic. I don't think there's one size that fits all. We can't just say every project has a 15% apprenticeship utilization or a 17% local hire. And we did that in the pilot. And one of the things that we learned is there's a big difference between vertical projects and horizontal projects. And the types of jobs and apprenticeships that are associated with each type of construction. And so in the ordinance, we have a higher percentage for vertical projects. And we also have one for horizontal projects.
Can you explain what that means? I went to music school.
Okay, and this is why I did this. Vertical are buildings that,
Straight up?
yeah,
buildings that
up
go
and down.
Okay.
Horizontal or flat. So, you know, bridges, streets, that type of stuff is more horizontal.
So ordinance was brought forth by former Councilwoman Alvin.
Yeah,
That's.
yes, and she was very adamant in her approach to making sure our residents got these opportunities, and so her and Councilwoman Ortega, you guys know Debbie Ortega, Councilwoman Gilmore. When the ordinance went through, it went through on a 13-0 vote. So all the council members were in support of moving this forward.
I want to make sure Hannah has a chance to speak.
Can I have one final question? It's really quick. I'm wondering if they're not hiring from Denver residents, where are they getting the workers?
Oh, they come from Aurora. I can tell you
Oh, so-
exactly where they're coming from. Aurora, Thornton, Westminster.
So the Denver Metroplex?
Yeah, the
Okay,
Metroplex.
okay.
And we on occasion have a few people who come from even out of state
That's, yeah.
that work on our projects. And I think the perception is there are a lot of people from out of state that come and work on our projects, and it's quite the opposite. For Denver projects, the vast majority who work on the projects are Denver residents. Okay, I'm sorry, Hannah, I took something.
That's okay.
I apologize, but I can tell you, we've worked together for a few years now, and I can't say enough about their commitment, because I can say you gotta do it. But these are the people who execute. And so I'll just turn it over.
We need you all on our, we can't do a project without you all, so.
So sorry about your slides.
Oh, no problem.
It was an empty slide. that, not
Probably
really
me.
out there. But we do have slides for Hannah. You guys are geared up to share those.
So yeah, so I'll kind of tag on to what Derek said. When you hear the word workforce, you think of the workers and the people, but it really is more, in my mind, of an ecosystem. So I kind of want to talk about a little bit, how Pencil Phelps, the authority, the city, our trade partners all kind of work together as one to support what I consider the heart of the ecosystem, which is the GES community. On this project specifically, so. And I guess while they're pulling it up, I can share a little bit more about Pencil Phelps too, if you all aren't familiar. So we are a general contractor. We are the company, the entity overseeing all of the different scopes from the construction side of things, right? And so we do have self-performed scopes and trades that work for Pencil Phelps. We have carpenters, we have general laborers, we have concrete finishers. So those are kind of the three main jobs of people that work on the trades under us. We call it the craft, but most of the jobs, as I'll show you once it's pulled up, are going to come from the trade partners that we hire under us. Cool.
Is it all union?
The mix. So Pencil Phelps, we're union in some places, we're open shop in some places, but a lot of the, like, I would say MEP are kind of some of the biggest union companies that we work with on our projects, but you know, then we have painters and things that may or may not decide to use. So it's a good mix. On the convention center, our steel erection company was union, but our drum pullers weren't. So depends.
What do you envision for here?
I mean, I think for us, our vision is really focused around the registered apprenticeship. And so if we can hit that registered apprenticeship goal, there's registered apprenticeship programs that are union and registered apprenticeship programs that are non-union. And so we can hit the goal by working with both of them. That's kind of what we do. Okay, sorry. So yes, we have the slides pulled up now. This is kind of the ecosystem, just, you know, broadly that I'm talking about. And workforce development is how we support the Denver residents and the GES residents. So we can go on to the next slide. But this is really what I was talking about as they were pulling up the slide. Like, we're the general contractor. Yeah, we hire some people directly under us, but most of the jobs that are going to be available are from the trade partners. And this is just, you know, high level, kind of what you can imagine as being, if you're an electrician, you could work for the lighting company, you could work for the electrical company. If you're a plumber, you know, maybe you'll work under a large mechanical firm. We also have, in addition to the workforce ordinance, there is an MWBE ordinance that kind of, I would say, overlaps complementary to the workforce ordinance. And so the cool thing is, you know, you may have one large mechanical company doing a big scope of work, and then they may bid out plumbing or something specific under them that's a small, locally owned MWBE firm. And so the residents then have the opportunity to, do I want to work for the kind of big nationwide mechanical contractor, or would I rather keep that in-house and, you know, more local? So there are two different ordinances that kind of play.
What's a MWB?
Minority or woman-owned business enterprise. So yeah, so it's a city-specific certification. Your company, if you're MWB certified, has to be under a certain size. Has to be a certain net worth from the owner. You have to, you know, show that you're, you know, a woman or a minority owned firm. And yeah, so there's a lot of different requirements. Yes.
Yeah, so to apply for your job, do you have to go to Pencil and then you get them jobs?
No, it would be, so we tried to handle, like what we did on the convention center with Derek was, there was a convention center website. And within that website, we had links to every company that was hiring. You know, we would update it quarterly or something like that. And so you would be able to go to one place and then click individually and say, oh, I don't know anything about mechanical. I'm really interested in carpentry. And you could go and click on that company, and then all of their jobs would show up, and then you would go apply to that company.
You know, I think your approach needs to change,
Okay.
especially in this community, because a lot of us are not technical savvy.
Okay.
And I want to get into that in a minute. One thing would be, I don't see anything up there about green jobs, any futuristic jobs.
Oh, this isn't, no, this is not all
Yeah.
jobs. This is just kind of, just showed you Hensel Phelps, and then Hensel Phelps hires people, and those people hire people, and so on.
Yeah, but going back to, I think we should have like an open arena and have the different contractors available, and then on site, right there on the spot, hire people.
Yeah.
You wanna take a physical, go right down, next booth over.
No, yeah, we definitely, I'm sorry to cut you off, go ahead.
No, that's all. That's-
Okay, no, I did wanna say, that was just one example. We know that not everyone likes to go apply for jobs on the computer. Not everyone has the resume created, right? Like, or has the ability to go do that. And so we advertise online, we advertise, through community partners, we advertise through paper, if that works. I mean, if that's what this community wants, we keep that in mind. But there are gonna be a number of different ways that Hensel Phelps and our trade partners would advertise. So that's good feedback.
But I think that one of the most important and critical things are green jobs, the futuristic jobs. Don't keep, for lack of better words, our historical labor jobs and these traditional things, futuristic like electrical, solar,
Yeah.
direct current, steel, flooring, loading floors and stuff. There's a lot of new innovation going on, especially in building right now, and especially since the National Western is going into a green mode in terms of being able to make these new structures, energy, I'll say energy efficiency and self-sufficiency. Along with that technology comes new, innovative, creative, and forward-thinking positions.
Yeah.
That can, that can lead us, and not only that, but the more educated your workforce is, the more productive they can be, and the more, in turn, that really impacts our community.
Yeah, oh yeah, I agree, definitely. I think if we go to the next slide, that might kind of help address a little bit what you're talking about. But there is the traditional construction jobs that you think about. I would say one thing, I guess let me start with job readiness. So when you're talking about, are people, they're either getting to apply to the jobs, but they're not getting hired. I think that kind of goes back to like, what do we need to do to prepare people to be equipped to be hired, right? To be able to fill the jobs, to meet those needs, to have those skills. And so one of the ways that I think that we work with the city and county of Denver really well is, and all the community partners are through job readiness. And so, maybe it's a year before, and I don't know when we're breaking ground on this project, but 6 months, a year, 3 months away, there are companies out there that work with the city and county of Denver, that work with Hensel Phelps, that say, let me help you put a resume together. What are your skills? Let me help you describe that on your resume so that it sticks out to the employers for the jobs that you want to hire. There's certifications and trainings, right? Like maybe I'm an electrician by trade, but I want to learn more about solar. So there are, pre-apprenticeship programs and other certification programs that would equip individuals with that education and those skills. So that is something that I feel like the city and county of Denver does really well. And I do have a list of resources towards the end of the slide that I can go talk about. But workforce development, supporting individuals prior to the jobs coming out, during construction, making sure people are aware of the jobs, that they have access to the employers. They're not having to call someone or go to a random website and dig through page after page after page to try to just click a button and hope someone calls them back, right? It's the face-to-face hiring fairs. We do all of that when we're on a project, and Derek and them hold us accountable to that as well. And they attend them, which is great. Throughout the project, if you're not within maybe a traditional construction trade, professional services are another thing. At the convention center, we had an individual who did photography, right? So he was we hired him on as a professional services, and he would just take pictures of the job site for our records, right? So there's tons of professional services, catering, those types of things that we do need on the project that aren't, I guess, specific to construction. And then Steve had mentioned that there's going to be ongoing campus operations, hospitality industry, maintenance and engineering. That's a little bit outside of what I do, but that is kind of the last phase of the project, that there would be continuous jobs. The next big slide is more about the resources. So it's I guess we call it wraparound resources, right? Getting the person the training to win or to be awarded the job, getting the person the application be, getting a job is one thing, but then how do we allow them and enable them, empower them to keep their jobs and be successful and grow their careers? And so it's getting bus passes to work, right? Like, we do a lot of work at the airport. Someone who lives here, it might be really difficult for them to get out to the airport to get a job, or get to downtown to get a job. And so we work with Work Now and other organizations to help find childcare, help people get transportation to work, get mental health resources while they're on their jobs. You know that. And so all of these resources that I shared, Work Now, Second Chance, Servicio de la Raza, Chic, Cross Purpose, they all want to support the community and the workers, and they all have their own kind of specific, like, niche that they have. So you can find an organization that really understands who you are, what you're looking for, what your struggles are, and this isn't even probably half of the organization, but this is a really good list, and we worked a lot very closely with these companies at the convention center. And so those are the community resources. The registered apprenticeship programs, we were talking a little bit, union or non-union. Our carpenters are part of CATC. There's local 208, there's local 24. I mean, there's a bunch of other IECs and non-union electrical. There's also the local electrical union. So lots of options there to try to get hooked up as an apprentice so that we are incentivized to hire you even more to fill that local hire and the apprenticeship program hire. Yeah, and the rest is just kind of additional Connected Colorado hiring fairs, making sure we put a priority on DE&I during hiring process for our processes are equitable. That was the last slide I had.
And can you talk a little bit more about the hiring fairs and when they happen during construction? This is not just one hiring fair.
No. Yeah, so we kind of call, we're bringing trades on, we call it like our buyout process. And so, maybe the earlier scopes that we would bring on would be earthwork and underground utilities and foundations and things like that. We would most likely have a hiring fair for those companies in person, where you can connect with all of those companies, kind of your resume, figure out what they're looking for. And that's first phase. And then maybe on the second phase, it's structural steel and drywall and framing and more of those like really early interior scopes. We'll have a hiring fair at that phase. When we get to finishes, we'll have a hiring fair at that phase. The ongoing, more of the like long-term MEP commissioning, electrical, we'll continue to have a hiring fair in that phase. We need to be able to meet the hiring goals and the apprenticeship goals and hours throughout the whole entire project. And so we'll sit down with Derek and his team and we'll line out the project year by year by year. And we'll say, in this month, this is when the electricians are gonna start. We need to make sure we have a hiring fair for that trade. That makes sense. So it's throughout the project, at different intervals. It just depends. Each project is unique and what the schedule looks like, but it will happen.
Do you guys provide community specific hiring fairs where it's really invitation for like those neighborhoods in that zip code? Or is it really just a broad city?
Oh, no. It would be specific for this project. It would be people who want to work on the National Western Center Equestrian project. And so it would make the most sense. I mean, typically a lot of our hiring fairs for the convention center were in downtown because that's where it was. But, it would make sense for us to have hiring fairs here because that's where the project is and that's where the residents are. So it's easy access. But also, yeah.
One question is, has a development agreement with Sage? If not, when do they anticipate it to sign?
It is not been signed yet. We do not have a date certain right now, but we are working towards the end of this year and into early next year for executing the program. We intend to bring Sage Hotel operations to this task force to talk about some of the hotel operations related things that they're going to be responsible for, to try to get input prior to executing the program.
And will the community be involved in the benefits outlined in it?
Absolutely, and the community informed of community benefits that are in the agreement, that are in the project support agreement. Require that was to go into the development agreement. So the community will continue to be involved. In discussing those, the list that I brought up earlier in the meeting is the list of community benefits, right, from that will be in the development agreement, that were in the project support agreement. So that's the intent of our discussion in the past rules.
Yeah, there's somebody online, from Unite here, Rachel.
Hi, yes. So my question also is regarding the hotel. In the 2023 agreement between the city and the authority, there was language that required collaboration with organized labor regarding the hotel. There hasn't been from our side of things, right? And I'm just curious if there's a plan to ensure that that is happening.
Yeah, so I believe that leadership from Stage Hospitality has met with organized labor. Mike, I believe you maybe can answer about that.
Yeah, and there has been some outreach between the development team, particularly Sage and Unite Here. But to answer your question, the timing of that collaboration is really dependent on when this agreement is signed and when those next steps of the hotel will happen. So the commitment is still there. There has been initial contact and conversation, and when the time is right, those conversations are.
Right. So I am aware of that conversation. And in that conversation, we brought up the language that said there would be a collaboration, and they said that they were not bound by that language. So the impression we got is that there is not collaboration with us, right? It would be with us.
Well, I can't speak to that conversation. I was not there, but the project and the city remains committed to the language of that agreement. There will be collaboration, and it's a timing issue.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a different perspective to your response to Jessica's question about the community benefits piece, because in comparing it to the project support agreement, prior to the project support agreement, there were meetings with the Community Investment Fund where the Community Investment Fund suggested many more benefits than what now has come into the project support agreement. And additionally, in these meetings, there were other benefits that community has asked for, like a commercial kitchen within the community space. The other benefits that, the CIF asked for, as example, were access to empty hotel rooms should a family in 80216 be experiencing eviction or have to move, as we all know many of our families here do. And there wasn't really a process for negotiating those benefits into the project support agreement. There wasn't an allowance for a representative of the community or of the neighborhoods to negotiate within that document. And so I just think that's important context when we're talking about there's going to be a meeting where we talk about benefits, and then that goes into the agreement, because it's not exactly, in my experience, how that works.
Yeah, so your two examples, the commercial kitchen and the community space, we have spent a lot of time in this task force working on that community space. And a community or a commercial kitchen was not the direction we heard. It was a gathering space for the community, with the ability to have potlucks and bring in food and have a kitchen that serves for that gathering purpose. We talked about what it would mean to have a commercial kitchen like the one at CSU, and it would be a sterile environment with a bunch of rules. It would not be a gathering space, and so that's where we talked about it, and that's where we landed on what's the 4,000 square feet of gathering space for that would go important project. Your other example of making hotel rooms available to people experiencing eviction, we talked about this before. We talked about it at the CIF committee and the SAGE, and the answer was that that's not something that this hotel can accomplish, and that there are other services that may be able to support eviction. So we gave you a response to that. And that's why it's not in the community benefits.
The examples are to provide examples for, folks that are listening. And yes, we have had conversations about that, which I appreciate. It's more to illuminate the process, which is that after these meetings, a group of lawyers, which the neighborhood does not get to have their own legal party at the table, they write the development agreement, and so it's to illuminate that process.
Yeah, I would just also add that, in this meeting, in this task force meeting, and again, it was combined with the CAC, we brought up the list of community benefits, we checked in with this group, this is the list, this is what is gonna make it into this development agreement. And yes, we need the attorneys to make that, to legalize that, if you will. And so this is where we have the conversation in the task force and negotiate these things, discuss them. And so I'm happy you're here. I'm happy we will continue to talk about these things and refine them as we move forward. Were there questions for Hannah? I want to make sure we have a chance to, anyone online?
I'm gonna work the question. Are the materials that you're gonna be using sustainable, and is this gonna be a LEED certified building?
Yes, the city requires through its executive order 1, 2, 3, to try to achieve, I believe it's the gold.
Yeah.
And so yes, there's a lead requirement there. Do you want to talk about other buildings that have met? I mean, all the buildings that have built so far have been, I believe have met the gold.
Yeah, so Stockyard Event Center, which is the only complete building that we built, is just been recently certified in the World Livestock Center. So it is a city that we guess that the project's one.
And I it's fairly question, two part.
Nope, that's it.
Does it? Okay. Okay, so for our next task force meeting, we plan to continue this discussion around construction jobs. I think it'd be helpful to bring data that was requested. We can send out in this presentation, we can also send out Derek's presentation that we weren't able to pull up so that everyone has it. I think we probably have everyone's email address, but if you're new to the group, please sign up so we can make sure we can send that to you. Also, the intent is to begin the conversation around workforce housing in September as well. So we'll have kind of two topics there, finishing this construction jobs and then starting the workforce housing September into October.
Steve, just really quickly, could you just remind me kind of like the timeline between the three projects? Like, when does the Equestrian Center more or less start getting built? When does the hotel, and when does the workforce housing? Because it's not all like at the same time.
So the intent is that the project finishes at the same time. We may try to deliver the parking garage early to open that up. As you may know on the site, it's surface parking today, so we're losing quite a bit of parking when construction starts. But the intent is we'll have parking garage early, but the rest would all open around, the weeks of October. As far as when they start construction, housing doesn't take as long to build as potentially the Equestrian Center, but it's just longer build time. We have to work through the development agreement first, get that finalized. So this is likely well into next year.
But Steve, they would be, this is Kristen, the NTP for the start would be all at the same time. So the developer would control the schedule a little bit there, so they could start all of it at the same time. So we don't want to mislead with that. But yeah, to Steve's point, we have to finish the final development agreement, but they could start them all at the same time if they wanted to for their efficiencies. We don't anticipate that they need to because they have different lengths and durations to finish it. So we wouldn't think that that's how it would be done, but they could.
Okay, anything else for this first part of the meeting? If not, we would like to move everyone into the other room, right to the other side of the wall for dinner.
Thanks for the opportunity and go team.
Okay,
Change the way.